In this section, we will be looking into adding materials into your models. So let's take a look at this material manager. Once you click it, you will be able to see that there's another panel open up, and this is the material panel. Let's create a material, or you can click onto the new default material. So in the material, we choose standard material. So once you click into standard material, you will be able to see that there's this material over here, and you have the material attributes over here. Now, if you double click on this image, you'll be having the material editor pop up, and it's easier for you to do adjustment here. Inside a material editor, you will be able to see that there are a few things that you can play around with. So color basically is the color, or you can add in texture onto your object. You have the luminance. Luminance is about light. If you turn on the luminance, you'll be able to see that it won't affect by the light, but this is the light that is created inside the object itself. And transparency, if you turn it on, you'll be able to see that the types of transparency material that you are looking for. And with the glass selected, you have the refraction of 1.517. And reflectant is the reflectiveness of the material. Environment is basically adding an environment image around the material to create a fake reflection. Fog, bump, and displacement, we will talk about it later. And we have this alpha. If let's say you have an image with an alpha layer, you can apply the alpha here. And you can also glow your object. Now let's take a look at adding materials onto this pipe over here. We want to add a glass material over it. So add the reflectance here. At the transparency, we can choose glass. And at the colors, I can change it to any colors that I like. And the reflectance, it depends on, if let's say you are okay with it, you can leave it as per for now. So I close this. Once I double click my mat, I can name glass pipe. So I just drag and drop into my tube. This one should be, you can drop on top of here, or you can choose wherever that you want. You can always go to the ground shading over here and take a look. So once I apply the glass pipe, I can go to this icon, which is actually when you hold your left click longer, you will be able to see the pop-up, and you'll be able to see that there's this render view. So click onto the render view, you'll be able to see the render on your viewport. Let's play around with the tube over here. And I create another new material. I just create a default material. Here I just double click and name it tube. I want to make a vibrant color. At the luminance here, I want to make it has a bit self-glow. So let's drag my tube into the tube. Is it this one? Yeah. The second one. You can just drag and drop onto the object as well. And I can go to my torus. Okay, so right now you can see exactly what is going on in our viewport. And remember, you can always go to this display, choose ground shading, so that you can see the changes. So let's head back to my material editor. Now with adding luminance, you will not be able to see the speculators and stuff. Everything will be flat because it glows on its own. So let's head into the texture here. I can go all the way down and add in a freshener. So what happened is the freshener will help you to glow the side of the object. So let's click onto the image, and I want to change the color. So normally the side here, I will choose back yellowish color. And the inner part, maybe I want to change it to more orangey. So you can see something like this. And I can always move this so that my glowing part will be lesser. So in freshener, you will get the glow at the outer part. So it depends on the color you are putting in. If let's say it's brighter, then you will have a glow. If it's darker, then maybe the inner part will glow. So it depends on how you want it to look like. So right now I want the outer edge to be a bit brighter. So this is what I'm looking for. And at the reflectance here, you can always play around with the specular. But I think right now I'm good with this. So let's close it. I'll create the material for the tube behind. So I go and create a default panel. And let's take a look at color. Now I want to try to add in some texture onto it. So I can go to, or maybe I want to add layer. So I add a layer. When I click into it, I'll be able to get into my shader. And here you can add in your image. If you have your own image, you can add inside. If you want to add in shader, I can add my color first. My color, maybe I want to add a bit of beige color. Alright, then I just click the arrow icon, just go up. And right now I want to add some noise onto it. So the noise, maybe I want to just do a multiply. I can change the color of my noise as well. So my global scale, maybe I want to make it smaller. And I go up again. I try to see whether is it nice. And let's try to add this material into my tube. So this is what I have. And right now I need to make sure that I have a very nice reflectance. Okay, you can add in your width of the specular. Right now you can make it to thinner. You'll be able to see that my specular is not so obvious over here. And if I increase it, my specular is moving white. So I just make it smaller, maybe 20. And fall off, it depends on your fall off. You can fall off further and you will see that here is, we are changing. Okay, if your fall off is higher and your width is smaller, it looks more like porcelain. And inner width, it depends on whether you want to add in your inner width. Specular strength, so how harsh you want it to be, how bright you want it to be. And you can always change the colors, or maybe this one I want to change it more to yellowish. So this is the specular color you want to set. Now I feel that this is a bit too harsh. I make it thinner, and here I make it softer. Okay, so maybe this is what I'm looking for the specular. And if you feel that the round is too much, you can always go back to your tube and go to the object, and here you can reduce the radius of your fillet. Alright, so I put 15. And now let's take a look how it looks like. Okay, so here I can see the noise is quite not that obvious and it's quite small. Now I can just go back to my matte and I get into my colors and increase is the size of it. I put back to 100% and take a look what happened. Now this is a bit too much. I think I put 50. Maybe my color is too much, so I need to tone it down some more. And my multiply here, I don't think I need that harsh color. We need to tone down some more. I want it to be softer. Now I want to try to make it has a bit bumpy effect. So let's get into the material again. And I can always apply this noise into my bump. So right click, I can copy my shader, go to my bump, turn it on, and at the texture here, I can paste my shader. So once I paste, the information of the colors will be placed inside my bump. So let's take a look at the effect and see. Now you see that my material has a bit bumpy, but at the side here, it's still smooth. So you can increase the bumpiness to 50%. Now this is too much. I think I put 20. Maybe this is too small. I can increase it so that it looks better. this is something I'm looking for. Okay, so we can still change later on. At the back here, I want to try something different. We have this asset browser. So inside asset browser, we have a lot of assets ready for us. Like for yours, you'll always have these materials, models, and all stuff over here. And at the materials, you can open it up and you can check that there are different materials. And let's get into the standard and physical. So let's head into the wood. Now for the wood materials, you can always open it up. Let's pick and choose the wood that we are looking for. Maybe I want to have this softer wood, and I just double click and it will add into my material browser. So once I have my material browser, I can drag and drop into my another tube. So let's turn this off and we have a bigger space for us to see the image. Now, another way of looking at our render, just now we are doing it in the render view, meaning that it won't store any renders. So we cannot compare the previous and the after. So what we can do is we can always head into this render to picture viewer. Then we have all the renders gathered in the picture viewer. Now before that, we need to get into our setting and make sure that, because we are using standard material, so make sure that we are at standard material. So select the standard material over here and just click onto the middle button, and this is what we get. Now we have this render and you'll be able to see that the texture don't have the colors. Or maybe we can add a colors onto them and take a look. Now we have a white color and the reflectance is not so much. So I can copy the shader, go here and paste the shader. So just now we have this shader over here, but we don't have it in the color, so it will follow whatever materials that you have in your object. So right now I just copy and paste the shader into my color texture. Now I have a more obvious effects over here. Now let's take a look and see. Now this one we see that it's somehow stretched, so we can adjust the texture a bit. Now let's get into we select the material at the tube here. We call it material tag. Once we click onto it, you'll be able to see that the attributes change to the material. So let's go into the tag, and inside the tag we will be able to see the UVW mapping. This is the projection of it, and you can always change to spherical or you can change to cube, and you will be able to see the material arranged in this way. So it depends on how you want it to be, or maybe we can change it to cylindrical or frontal view. Frontal view will make it flat, and if flat, it will still make it like flat. And you can always go back to UVW. And right now our problem is it's stretching nicely, just that maybe it's too distorted. So what we can do is we can adjust the length of U and V and see what happens. So we can adjust the length of U and length of V so that the wood looks better. Now by default, the projection is always UVW mapping because it will stretch it nicely onto your object. So sometimes if you see that something's going wrong, you can always play around with the length and the offset. You can always offset it. Now, and if it's repeated, then you need to click seamless so that the breaking point is not obvious. But right now, I think so far for this is good. And let's render. Now, this is kind of nice. However, the materials that we are having seems not so nice. So let's head back to our material. And maybe I make the color darker. Maybe I change to a darker color. And let's take a look how it goes. Now this one, our bump is too much, so I'll reduce the bump. It looks better. And now it seems that our specular doesn't look that appealing. So like at this, I just increase back onto the specular, and the inner width, I reduce it. Reduce the specular strength so it looks smoother. Let's try and see. Okay, we will wait for another section, then we will look into the lights. So because when we get the lights on, things will change again. Okay, so let's get into another content browser and choose another wood material for this. Maybe I can choose to have a brighter texture, and I just drag and drop into my cube. Which cube is this? Yeah. So this one, once we drop, is actually nicely wrapped. So what if we want the patterns to go vertically rather than horizontally? Now, because we are using UVW mapping, it will stretch nicely, so we can't really control it. Now, what we can do is, because this is a cube, I can choose cubicle, and let's try to go to the coordinate and move the material. So I can move it to 90% and take a look. Now, this looks nice. And let's apply this to the bottom cube as well. Now this one, I just leave it as per. This is the scene. I have applied some materials. And of course, for the limbo behind, I'll just put a soft default white color material at the back. In this section, we talk about this material. So you can create material by turning on this material manager. Create your default material. You can be it PBW material, standard material, any materials that you want, you can create from here. And inside the material editors, you'll have few things to play around with. And then you'll have, if you don't want to create your own material, you can always go to this asset browser, and you can pick and choose the materials that you want. You just drag and drop, and make sure that if you are using standard material, then you choose the standard material. If not, you won't be able to see your material on the object. And if you want to change the specific material on that object, you can always click onto the material tag and go into the tag and make your changes over the projections. And you can pick and choose whether you want it tiled, seamless, do you want it to repeat, and you can offset the materials over here. And you can also change the material rotation over here. And for the tag, if let's say you are using UVW mapping, you won't be able to change anything in the coordinates unless you pick and choose the other projections. So this is how you apply material into the object.